So, what is the greatest art form? I mean, is it the one that carves reality out of a solid block of stone? Or is it the one that literally creates a new reality on a totally flat surface? During the Italian Renaissance, this wasn't just some friendly chat. This was an all-out intellectual war. And right at the center of it all was the master himself, Leonardo da Vinci.
Okay, so let's get right into this. This whole question of painting versus sculpture, it was part of a really intense debate called the Paragon, which just means comparison. Artists, thinkers, patrons, they all argued passionately about which art was truly superior, which one took more skill, and which was the real mark of genius. And well, there was one man who was in the perfect position to settle the score for good. And that man was, of course, Leonardo. I mean, think about it. He had mastered both of these arts to a level that is just staggering. So he didn't just have, an opinion. He believed he could give a nearly faultless judgment. He was basically to judge the jury and the star witness in the great trial of the arts. So, what was his final verdict? First, let's hear the case from the other side.
All right, first up to the stand, the sculptor's argument. Their main claim to greatness was simple, it was powerful, and honestly, it's pretty hard to argue with. It all came down to permanence.
A sculpture, right? It's carved from marble or it's cast in bronze. It can stand up to the ages. It's not worried about humidity, fire, heat, and cold, nearly as much as some delicate painting on a piece of wood. And this, in the sculptor's mind, makes it more eternal, and because of that, a worthier form of art. A painting fades, but stone lasts forever. That's a pretty solid point, isn't it? But Leonardo, ever the intellectual, he had this absolutely devastating counterargument. See, he wasn't interested in how long the material could last, he was interested in the genius of the artist. It was all about mind over matter.
And boom, there it is. Leonardo's point is so simple, but it's incredibly profound. The permanence of a sculpture, that comes from the stone, not from the artist, the artificer. The sculptor didn't invent the durability of rock, did they? For Leonardo, this completely misses the whole point of what makes art great. He just completely changes the rules of the debate, shifting it from physical stuff to the power of the human mind.
Now, to really get what Leonardo's arguing, you have to understand this one crucial Italian word, ingegno. This isn't just about skill or talent. We're talking about the artist's intellect, their ingenuity, their inventive genius. It's pure brain power. For Leonardo, the greatest art was whichever one required the most ingegno. And in his mind, the entire debate really just comes down to that one idea.
So, with ingegno as the new gold standard, Leonardo starts to build his case for painting. And he does it by focusing on all the incredible illusions a painter can pull off that are just flat out impossible for a sculptor. So, let's just look at what painting brings to the table. You've got the beauty and the perspective of colors, the ability to show atmosphere like fog or mist or rain, and, this is the big one, the illusion of huge distances. A sculptor kind of gets distance for free, right? Their work already exists in 3D. But a painter has to invent it on a 2D surface. Now that, for Leonardo, requires true ingegno.
And what's so cool is how Leonardo uses these really poetic examples to make his point. A painter can create the illusion of transparency, being able to see skin through a thin, delicate veil. A sculptor can carve the folds in a robe for sure, but they can never make solid marble look see-through. That is a kind of magic trick that only the painter knows how to do.
And here's another great one. A painter can show you the bottom of a river, with all the little colorful pebbles visible right there under the shimmering surface of the water. They can create these layers of reality, depth, and different textures all in the same space. This power to conjure up such complex, multi-layered illusions, that's something that belongs to painting and painting alone.
But Leonardo saved his most powerful, and maybe his most brilliant argument for last. For him, this whole debate boils down to one single thing: the mastery of light and shadow. This was painting's knockout punch. Just think about it for a second. A sculpture is completely dependent on an external light source, the sun, a candle, whatever, to even show its form. In fact, Leonardo points out that if you light a sculpture from below, it can look monstrous and strange. Its beauty is totally at the mercy of its environment. But the painter isn't. This table really just nails the difference. The sculpture is helped by nature. Nature gives them the light, the shadows, and the real physical depth they need for perspective. But a painting carries its own light and shadow within itself.
The painter has to invent the light source, they have to scientifically calculate the shadows, and create the illusion of perspective through pure genius. In other words, the painter is a creator, the sculptor is just a refiner of something that already exists.
And this, right here, is the grand finale of his whole argument. The greatest miracle in all of art, according to Leonardo, is that a painting can make you believe you are looking through a window into a completely different world, even though it's just some paint on a flat wall. It's an act of deception so powerful it can fool even the sharpest critics, the most subtle judges. So the verdict is in. For Leonardo da Vinci, painting is the undisputed champion. Why? Because it's the ultimate intellectual exercise. It's a science of optics, it's a philosophy of how we see the world, it is the greatest possible demonstration of ingenio, a complete and total triumph of the artist's mind over the limits of the physical world.
So, Leonardo da Vinci, one of the greatest geniuses in all of history, laid out a powerful, logical case. He crowned painting as the superior art. But now that you've heard his arguments, what do you think? Do you agree? Is the illusion created by the mind greater than the permanence of a piece of stone? That's a debate that, maybe, is truly eternal.